Hi guys, just a really quick one today. I don't do sort of tech reviews or anything like that for two reasons. One, I'm not a tech wizard, and two, there's plenty of them out there. The quad you see in front of me is my Leggero S4L Extreme Edition. And on the back burner, when I was playing around with my Zero S3M, I spent a bit of time on this guy, lightening him up. So what you see is the kind of finished article, and in his current form with props on, this guy weighs 152 grams. So what I really wanted to do was compare this to the Zero S3, the 3-inch. So basically compare 4-inch to 3-inch. I thought it'd be a good comparison, and certainly something I'm interested to see. I'm kind of wondering whether this guy with bigger props, 4-inch props, and a relatively similar weight will will blow it away in real life. But I'm really interested to see how it goes. But anyway, that's besides the point. If you go back to my original Zero S3M build video, you'll know that I originally wanted to use a GearBest Mini 20 amp ESC and flight controller, and the ESC had issues and GearBest was sending me another one, which they did. And this is in this particular quad, and it has given me no end of problems. The problems, I don't even know what the problems are, to be honest with you. They're so sort of random. Stuttering motors, sometimes it arms, sometimes it doesn't arm, sometimes when you turn it on and you get your full ESC chimes, sometimes you only get two. The list goes on and on and on. So basically we've got one of three problems here. I've got another set of crap ESCs. I've got a crap flight controller, or possibly, and I'm hoping this is the case, the built-in voltage regulator on the flight controller is shit and can't output the 1 amp that it states. Something that I refer to as omnibus F4itis. Because if you've been building quads for a while, you know that there's been about 763,000 different omnibus F3 and F4. I don't even know if it's been fixed by now, but all the early ones suffered from an overheating voltage regulator, and they were fine. There were ways around it, and I use them absolutely fine. But basically, if you plugged in a VTX and a camera, etc., sometimes the voltage regulator could overheat, and that would cause all manner of problems: quad falling out of the sky, ESCs resetting, blah 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 blah. And the easiest way to get around it was just, if you were using a PDB, is just to power all your peripherals off the PDB, or if you wanted, if you were using a 4-in-1 ESC or something that had a better BEC built into it, then you would just remove the voltage regulator itself, which would get rid of all your issues, and you would still get the Betaflight OSD etc. just by wiring it up differently. Anyway, if that is the case, the first thing I'm going to try and do with this is just put a little voltage regulator in it and see if it works. This one's a 12 volt, obviously I'll use 5 volts. If that sorts the problems out, then great. What you've essentially got is an 11 quid flight controller and a 20 quid set of ESCs, which is pretty good value by anybody's book. If that doesn't work, I might just throw the whole thing in the bin. I'm kind of sick of it, if I'm honest. Life's too short to mess around with that, and because this is the second one, I might not even bother. Which brings me on to the point of this video. When I originally when I originally put the XJB425, the HG LRC one 425 in the Zero S3M, Avant contacted me to say that they'd done loads of testing and they'd had a lot of issues with flight controls and mini ESCs, and he decided to use in his own case the Beerotor F4 flight controller, which you can see here. Now, I ordered one of these, but as it happened, the Zero S3M flew absolutely fine, so I never actually used it. But if you're looking to build a 3 or 4 inch quad right now, I would seriously point you in the direction of this guy, which is the Beerotor F4 Mini. There's a few reasons for this. One, it reeks of quality. It's a decent sized thickness, the pads are all nicely arranged, and it comes with the same F4 405 processor as the Matek F4 board that everybody's raving about, and it also has a similar 6050 gyro. So this thing should cope with Betaflight 3.2 etc. Really well, and you can just tell from basically looking at it and comparing it next to the cheaper one. It's just much better built. I've tested this one and it works absolutely fine. It's got a built-in 5.3 voltage regulator, which is good for 1.2 amps, so pretty much everything you can throw at it, probably bore or runcam split. I would still advise using a separate micro bec for that, but this is what, if I was starting these builds from scratch today, this is what I would be using it. In terms of the ESC that I would use its partner in crime, this, which I haven't used yet, but just looks beautiful. This is the 15 amp BB2 BL Heli-S ESC, and it just looks right. Sometimes you pick up something, the Matek F4 etc., and you just kind of have a sense that it's going to be a good one, which it generally is, and that is the case on this one. The only thing I hate on these little ESCs is the size of the pads, which is becoming a real issue. It's very difficult to get some 16 gauge wire onto those without either bridging or doing something wrong, and that's been the same for every single mini ESC that I've tested so far. I haven't found one with either bigger pads or pads that extend out so you don't have issues. So the one drawback of all these micro ESCs and these quads etc. is if you're running a 20 by 20 4-in-1 ESC, chances are at some time or other you're going to rip off your battery leads, and there's no way really to stop that happening, even if you use zip ties and hot glue, and I've tried it all. If you get stuck in scraggle, sooner or later you will rip them off, and the simple reason for that is you can't get enough solder on these tiny pads to hold on such big wires strongly. So that's just something to be aware of. It's not something to stop you, and like all things, technology is advancing so quickly that it probably won't be an issue in another 2 or 3 months. But if you're looking to buy a set of 4-in-1 ESCs and a flight controller, look out for these. The F4 board I think is about $24, so 22 quid, and the corresponding 15 amp ESC I think is $28, so 26 quid. It's 15 amp, but that's more than sufficient for a 3-inch quad running 1407s, or even a 4-inch one. People are running 5-inch quads on 20 amp ESCs, albeit very light ones, but when we're talking this sort of weight, there's not a lot to worry about. Obviously don't do that if your quad weighs 250 grams, but in this case on these tiny guys it's absolutely fine. So sooner or later, if I can't get this Leggero S4L fixed, I'm going to change it over to these that do weigh slightly more than the other ones that I've been trying, but the reason for that is they've got proper copper, they're a decent thickness, and obviously that comes with a little bit of weight, but we're only talking a gram or two. So yeah, hope that was useful to somebody. I guess the point of this is don't buy some of the cheap crap that's untested. If you shop on Banggood or GearBest, I don't have an issue with any of those sites. They sell really good stuff, but if you buy the unbranded stuff, sooner or later you're going to get your fingers burnt. Some of the stuff is amazing and such good value, and other stuff is just shit, and I suspect that is the case with the guy that's in this. Either the voltage regulator is overheating, or this board simply can't take the 4S that it states, and it's probably made for 2 to 3S. Anyway, happy flying.